Hi, I'm going to take you very quickly through the HBCP prediction tool, which has just been revamped, and so you need to probably have a bit of instruction on how to use it. The purpose of the tool is to use the data that we collected, the annotations of the stop smoking studies, the randomized controlled trials, of which are about 500 in the database that we annotated using the BCIO, the Behaviour Change Intervention Ontology, to make predictions about the likely quit rates in such smoking studies in novel scenarios using a machine learning approach that has been developed, which combines sort of a version of sort of deep learning and rule-based systems. So the first thing you have to do, obviously, is to get to the Human Behaviour Change Project website, which is humanbehaviorchange.org, which I've got up here. And then you go to the prediction tool. Just click on that. That takes you to a page which is a holding page, really, but just basically gives you another link to the website which contains the tool. So you click on that, and this is the new tool. So with this tool, what you do is to first of all, enter information about your smoking population and other features of the study. So what's the mean age of the smokers? We set it as a default to 50. The percentage that's female, you can use this slider to make that go up or down. I'm going to set that back to 50. Mean number of cigarettes smoked per day, which is currently set at 10, but you can move. And the follow-up point, which is by default set to 26 weeks, which is 6 months. But again, you can push that up or down. 26 weeks is actually a very useful figure because from the studies that have been done, we know that approximately half of smokers will relapse at some point after that point if they've been abstinent continuously for 26 weeks. So it gives you a way of estimating the very long-term effects of an intervention. And then you can say whether or not the smokers are hospital patients. I'll leave that blank for the moment. And you can also say whether there's biochemical verification of abstinence. And then the last thing you do to talk about the sample and the methodology is to say whether you want a figure for continuous abstinence or point prevalence. Continuous abstinence is where the smokers have ostensibly been abstinent from the quit date or quite soon thereafter, all the way up till the follow-up point, which in this case is 26 weeks. Point prevalence abstinence is where they've only been abstinent for a short period of time prior to the follow-up point, usually 7 days. So that in this case, if we choose point prevalence, then this will be people who've been abstinent for the last week of that 26-week follow-up period. I'm going to change that back to continuous. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see we can start to put in information about the type of support that smokers are receiving. But before we do that, let's just click on the predict button at the bottom. And then if you scroll down, you'll see essentially what the system is predicting if there's nothing documented in the intervention. It's not exactly the same as if there's no intervention because, as you can see, the prediction for the intervention group for this population is 7%, and the prediction for the control group is 4.3%. And that's without having put anything in the intervention. That's just because it's been documented as an intervention group. That difference will be partly because of things that are in the intervention that never got put in the smoking papers, the reports of the studies, and so they're hidden. So there's some sort of hidden behaviour change techniques that'll be in the intervention. It could also partly be a placebo effect because people know they're in intervention very often. It's very hard to disguise that when you're dealing with behavioural interventions, for example. It could be for other sort of artifactual reasons. But essentially, this is the prediction that you get from all those studies for the outcomes for this kind of population. And what you'll also see in the control group here, and you can click on this down arrow to extend it further, is that the machine learning has identified a number of rules which drive that control group percentage up or down. So for example, if the mean number of cigarettes smoked is less than 10, less than or equal to 10, then that bumps up the likely success rate by 3.75% relative to if it was more than 10 cigarettes a day, which is, as you can imagine. The fact that we're choosing continuous abstinence rather than point prevalence takes it down, as you would imagine, as well, because you're having to be abstinent for the whole time. And I won't go through all of these rules here, but some of them go in one direction and some of them go in another. For example, you also see that, as we know from the research evidence, that older smokers tend to be more successful than younger smokers. So the fact that the mean age is 50 here drives it up. But that's what the machine learning has found in terms of the predicted abstinence rate that you would get for the control group in this condition. Now let's just add some bits of intervention here. So let's look at various bits of behavioural support and include things like set a behavioural goal. Let's include things like promote use of social support. Let's look at things like reduce exposure to cues, promote or provide a substitute behaviour, give advice on reducing negative emotions like irritability, depression and so on. You can add a whole range of different behaviour change techniques that have been included in the studies and documented, annotated in the papers. But let's leave them at that for now. Then let's also look at possible pharmacological support, and let's say that these people got varenicline. A limitation of this tool at the moment is that you're only allowed to add one form of pharmacological support in at a time. But let's use varenicline, which we know is potentially quite effective. And then let's look at the mode of delivery, and we can choose a whole range, but face-to-face would be a very common one. And then let's look at the intervention provider, and we can say, is it a health professional, or can we be more specific and say that it's a doctor, a nurse, or a psychologist? Well, let's just say health professional for the moment. Okay, so we've put now a whole range of features from the intervention, and now we can go to the predict button and redo the prediction and see what it comes up with. And what you'll see here is that it's found a whole set of rules that actually bump up the quit rate, and a couple of BCTs or factors that actually take it down just very slightly. So the fact that it's face-to-face bumps it up a bit, regardless of what's in that face-to-face delivery or documented in it. The fact that it's Champix is helpful, on top of the fact that you're providing pharmacological support. So just knowing that it's pharmacological support will add something. Knowing that it's Champix will add something else. Providing some kind of substitute behaviour seems to be helpful, as is social support, and the fact that the support is delivered by a health professional. And also giving advice on reducing negative emotions. Goal setting, which is setting a quit date, if anything, has taken it down a bit. And that may well be because actually in interventions where you explicitly say that you're setting a quit date, then you may well be dealing with people who are not already that committed to stopping smoking. Otherwise, why would you, set a goal here? Because normally people, when they come into these studies, have set a goal that they definitely want to quit smoking. And then there's a more complex rule here, which is taking things down a bit as well, that is found. Okay, so that's the prediction. And that's basically how you use the tool. You can add or take away any of these intervention features, mess around with them, and you can change these parameters. Let's just, to end, look at what happens if you add smokers as patients and say biochemical verification of abstinence. And what we would expect is that would take the quit rate down a bit. And you can see that it has done. In fact, the control group here is pretty well very unlikely to stop at all. The predicted quit rate is 0, which is probably an underestimate here based on sort of an artifact of the prediction tool. But you can see that it's taken the success rate down a bit from the intervention as a result. Okay, I think that should give you something to go on. Try it out. You can't break it, I don't think. And hopefully you'll find it useful. But this is a very revolutionary tool. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in any behavior intervention evidence synthesis. And it's really the basis on which we really want to try and move forward in behavioral science in making accurate predictions about the outcomes of interventions.